Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video we'll be doing the review for the HTC One M9, which is the successor to the very popular HTC One M8 that HTC launched in 2014. And on paper, this HTC One M9 looks actually very good as an upgrade, but let's find out in this review if this is a worthy upgrade to the HTC One M8. So this is the HTC One M9. And from the looks of it, you might mistake it for the HTC One M8 because as you can see, it looks very familiar to the HTC One M8. If you move towards the back, you will see the difference. Now we have a 20.7 megapixel rear facing camera rather than that duo setup that we had with the M8. And actually the ultra pixel camera has been moved here, and this is the 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera. We do have the same gestures that we had even with the M8, so you can just pick up your phone and do this gesture to unlock it and use it. But again, you'll notice that the placements of the buttons have been changed. Let me give you a physical overview. Here on the top, we just have the IR blaster. The power button has been moved, and this is the micro SD card slot. We have the volume rockers, and the power button is over here. This is in the center, I would say. It's much better location than the top. But again, many times I was mistakenly hitting the lower volume button instead of the power button. Continuing, on the bottom, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack and the micro USB slot. And on this end, we have the nano SIM slot. Moving towards the back, we have the 20.7 megapixel camera, a dual tone flash, and also a secondary noise cancellation microphone, and the HTC branding. Again, the build is metallic and it looks actually very cool. Moving towards the front, we have the ultra pixel camera, as I mentioned, some sensors, and we still have that dual speaker setup, and it has been improved now, I would say. The screen is still a 5-inch screen and it's still a 1080p panel. And again, it's the same. We have virtual buttons, that is back home, and this is for the multitasking. But the multitasking, as you can see, we can now actually change the way it looks. For example, instead of the card view, by default, we have this grid layout that we have earlier, but you can also go to the lollipop style card view if you would like. So again, HTC has improved that. In fact, we also have support for themes, and overall actually it feels very good in the hand. It weighs 157 grams, and again it has that excellent build quality, and it comes out of the box with Android version 5, that is Lollipop. Let me actually show you. You can click here and go to the settings, and if you go to about, and if you go to software information, as you can see, it's running on the Android version 5.0.2 and runs with the new Sense version, that is 7. Again, it's very familiar with the older version, but we have this widget which actually just automatically tries to place the apps, for example, for home, out, and work. It actually takes about a week or two to get used to how you use the phone. I actually am not a big fan of this. But for my testing, yes, I'm using this app. So this is a new widget that we have. Again, the app tray is this one. This is the same that we have seen on the M8 also. And again, the good part with HTC phones is that the UI is very snappy, and that's the same with this one also. Everything actually runs very well, and it's butter smooth. And it's a pretty powerful device. Now, if we talk about the specs, this device is powered by the Snapdragon 810 chipset, which is an octa-core processor. The first 4 cores, which are based on the ARM Cortex-A57 architecture, are clocked at 2 GHz, whereas the low power cores, again, that's a quad-core processor, those are clocked at 1.5 GHz based on the ARM Cortex-A53 architecture. And it's a 64-bit enabled chip. And now we also have 3 gigs of RAM, and the battery is sealed inside, which is a 2840 milliamp hour battery. And regarding the battery, I would say the battery life was okay, and I would say the battery life that I was getting was very similar to the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge that I used, and in fact I would say the battery life is slightly less compared to the HTC One M8. I would say around 10% less compared to the One M8, but again it can easily last for a full working day. And we also do have power saving modes with this device. I did not use the power saving modes when I was testing it, so you can easily last it for a full working day if you enable the power saving modes. And again, if you go to the settings, these are the regular settings, and out of the box you get 32 gigs of internal storage, And as you can see, we can also add a micro SD card. So storage should not be an issue with this device. Now HTC is using this Peel app for remote. In fact, Samsung also uses the same app, and it actually works very well. As you can see, you have this in the notification tray, and if you pull down also, it narrows down. So it's actually pretty good in my opinion. Also, I really like the boom sound speakers that we have, and actually this is the one. You can actually, when you plug in headphones or something, you can enable it or disable it. Again, as it's a high-end device, it does support USB OTG. Let me actually show you the speaker output by playing a file. And I've plugged in this, and let's go to ES File Manager, and we'll use this. Oops, let's click here. And this is the USB drive that we have. And let's play this file, and let's use the Google Player. And let me bring the sound meter. As you can see, the speaker is actually very good. We do get that immersive stereo effect. It's not the loudest, I would say, but I've seen it touching 90 decibel mark. So the speaker output is actually very good on this device, and you'll enjoy if you watch a lot of movies, a lot of videos, etc. As you can see, the screen quality is also very good. No issues. One thing I did notice is that in auto brightness mode, the screen is a little bit dull to my liking, but overall I would say the screen quality is also pretty decent. Now if we talk about the general performance of this device was also very good. It's very snappy to load stuff, as you can see. Multitasking is also very smooth on this, and the Snapdragon 810 chipset handles everything actually very well. For example, this is a YouTube video. Let's play this.
Hi there, this is Ranjit,
and as you can see,
we'll be doing the
the
unboxing
viewing angles are nice.
Audio-Technica AD-Edge M40X headphones. And I know right away some of you might be thinking, why
let me just get out of this. So overall, for multimedia playback, I would say you'll have a very good experience with this device, and it's also very smooth. But one thing that I have noticed is that as it's having the Snapdragon 810 chipset, and the entire back is aluminum, it does feel a bit warm after about 5-6 minutes of usage. I would say if you do heavy web browsing, etc., and use the camera for 5-6 minutes, the back gets slightly warm. It's not getting hot, but it is getting a bit warm, I would say. Also, I did play quite a few games with this device, and it could run all games I threw at it without any issues. I even ran some heavy games and it could run them without any issues. But after extended gaming, I did notice that the handset gets a bit warm. I did use my infrared gun and the temperature was not going above 42 to 43 degrees Celsius, but it did feel a lot hotter than the 42 or 43 degrees centigrade. The thing is that this device has aluminum back, and due to that, with normal cell phones, etc., when it heats, only a particular area gets warm, but due to this aluminum backing, the entire back was actually pretty warm when doing gaming. So it did felt a lot hotter than it was. So you got to be aware of that. And in fact, my daughter likes to play a lot of games on many of the phones that I test, and she simply did not like the fact that this phone was getting a pretty warm, and she actually gave it back to me. So she didn't enjoy gaming on this due to the fact that it was heating up quite a bit. But again, I used the infrared thermometer and the temperature was not going above 42 or 43 degrees Celsius, but it did feel a lot hotter than what it was due to the aluminum backing. Now, if we move towards the camera, here I would say this is the biggest weakness of this device. Though it has a 20.7 megapixel sensor and it's a Toshiba sensor, the pictures in outdoor conditions and where there is a lot of light, those pictures come out to be really good. But again, when we move to indoor lighting conditions and in artificial lighting, the pictures were not good. And in fact, in indoor lighting conditions, the pictures were very poor to my liking for a flagship device. Even for video, the video quality was very average and not that great. The thing is that HTC hasn't put OIS on this device, that's optical image stabilization. Hence, due to that, if you take video handheld, though it can record video at 4K, the video footage was very shaky. And it's surprising that HTC omitted the optical image stabilization for a flagship device. So overall, I would say in the camera department, I was not that happy with the performance. In fact, I would say it was very poor. But when we move to the front-facing camera, it's a 4 ultra-pixel camera that we have. The pictures that we take with the front-facing camera were actually pretty decent, but it's restricted to only 1080p. So what do I feel about the HTC One M9? Before I give my verdict, let's talk about the pros and the cons. And I have made a list when I was testing this device. So let's go over that. First, let's talk about the cons. The first thing is the placement of the power button. As I mentioned even earlier, and it's actually pretty low. And many times I was hitting the volume button instead of the power button. So yes, I really appreciate that it's not at the top. But again, the location is simply not that great. Also, I don't like the fact that still we have that chin that makes this phone actually pretty long. And coming to one of the biggest con in my personal opinion is, though now it has a 20 megapixel rear facing camera, the camera quality is simply not that great. In artificial lighting and indoor lighting conditions, the camera performance was actually pretty poor. Though it can record 4K recording, and I don't get it why HTC omitted the optical image stabilization. And due to the lack of optical image stabilization, even the 4K video recording, if you take it handheld, is very shaky and sort of unusable. So I'm actually disappointed with the rear facing camera of this device. Also, as it's having the Snapdragon 810 chipset, I do feel that the handset gets a little bit warm with just even 4-5 minutes of usage. So you got to be aware of that. Also, another fact that I do not like is that though this device has support for Qualcomm's quick charging, HTC hasn't supplied the quick charger. The charger that we get in the box is just a regular charger. And also, lastly, again, I would say this is sort of nitpicking, but many of the high-end phones this year are having the fingerprint scanner, and we don't have that on this HTC One M9. Now let's move to the pros of this device. The first biggest thing with this HTC One series is the build quality, and that continues on this One M9. It's a beautifully built phone. It's a solid built phone, and it has a very good in-hand feel. Also, when we talk about the UI, the Sense UI is butter smooth and it handles everything without any issues. In my testing, I did not face any issues of lagginess or anything like that. So HTC has really optimized this device very well. And now we have support for themes, which adds further customization to this device. Next, if we talk about the speakers, the dual boom speakers are still one of the best that we have seen on a smartphone, and that continues on this HTC One M9. And now it gives you a virtual surround experience. So if you watch a lot of media and you play a lot of games, your experience will be very good. Also, I did test the headphone jack on this device, and I tested it with various headphones like my Grado headphones, the Audio Technica, etc. And the audio output that I was getting via the headphone jack was excellent. So if you are a music lover, you'll really like the HTC One M9. Also, the front-facing camera, which is now the ultra-pixel camera, is actually pretty good. And lastly is the cellular call quality. The cellular call quality that I was getting on this device was also very good. And lastly, I like the fact that we still have a micro SD card, so you can easily expand the storage. So I'm thankful that HTC kept that, unlike some other manufacturers which are omitting that in their flagship devices. So overall, I would say this HTC One M9 is a pretty decent handset, but not without its flaws. For a flagship device, I would say the camera performance was actually pretty poor, and also it does exhibit a little bit of heating when you actually stress the device. So you got to be aware of that. Now, if you already have the HTC One M8, I do not see this HTC One M9 as a worthy upgrade in my opinion. I have also posted several other videos on the HTC One M9, so make sure you check them out. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.